In 1994, a 23-year-old Norwegian striker stepped onto a World Cup pitch for the first time in his life. He never got out of the group stage. He went home, had a son, and quietly hoped that son might get the chance he never finished. That son is Erling Haaland. And for his entire career, the goals at Dortmund, the records at Manchester City, the talk of being the best striker alive, there was one thing Erling Haaland had literally never done. He had never played a single minute at a World Cup until this month. This is the story of how Norway disappeared from the World Cup for 28 years and how one family's unfinished business became the centerpiece of their return. Quick gut check on how long that actually is. The last time Norway played at a World Cup, Google didn't exist yet. The iPhone was 13 years away. A teenage Ståle Solbakken was still playing, not coaching. And this isn't some football minnow we're talking about. This is a country that in the mid-1990s was ranked the second best team on the entire planet by FIFA, above Brazil, above Germany, at points above almost everyone. Norway in 1994 wasn't an underdog story. They were genuinely good. Then it just stopped. Qualification after qualification, gone in the playoffs, gone on goal difference, gone in heartbreak after heartbreak. An entire generation of Norwegian kids grew up never once watching their country at a World Cup, not one tournament. So when Norway finally qualified for 2026, and not just qualified, but did it with a perfect record, winning every single qualifying game, it wasn't just good news. For an entire country, it was the end of a 28-year hole in their identity. But to really understand why this moment hits as hard as it does, you have to go back to where the wait actually started. And that means going back to one man's worst day. In 1994, Norway qualified for the World Cup in the United States. Their squad featured a tough, no-nonsense defender turned midfielder named Alfie Haaland. Yes, that Haaland, Erling's dad. Alfie was part of a Norway side that genuinely believed they could do something at that tournament. Instead, they were knocked out at the group stage, undone by results elsewhere, watching other teams advance while they packed their bags. For Alfie Haaland, it was the only World Cup he'd ever get. He never qualified with Norway again. Years later, Alfie has a son. That son grows up obsessed with football, obsessed with scoring goals, and turns into maybe the most clinical striker of his generation. But for years, there's a strange asterisk hanging over Erling Haaland's career. Ballon d'Or conversations, Champions League trophies, golden boots everywhere, and still, no World Cup. Norway just couldn't get there, which means, for almost a decade, Erling Haaland has been doing something for his country that his own father never managed. Erling Haaland has won the Premier League, he's won the Champions League, he's broken goal-scoring records that took decades to set. But until this month, there was one thing he had never done. Something his own dad failed to do back in 1994. He had never played a World Cup match. That's not a coincidence. That's 28 years of Norwegian heartbreak, and it's about to make a lot more sense. Here's the part people get wrong. This isn't a story about one guy carrying a country. Haaland is the headline, but Norway's return is built on the deepest pool of talent the nation has produced in decades. Start with the captain, Martin. Debuted for Norway's senior team at 15 years old, spent his teenage years getting shipped around Europe on loan, learning the hard way, before becoming the captain of Arsenal and now the captain of his country, leading the side that's finally taking Norway back to the world stage. Then there's the supporting cast. Most casual fans haven't clocked yet. Antonio Nusa, Oscar Bob, Alexander, players in their early to mid-20s who are just entering their prime at exactly the moment Norway needed them to, and the qualifying numbers back it up. Norway didn't scrape into this World Cup. They won every single qualifying match. They scored more goals than any other team in the entire European qualifying process. Haaland alone scored 16 of them, more than double the next best player on the continent. This is what people mean when they throw around the phrase golden generation. But that phrase should make you nervous, not excited. Football history is littered with golden generations that flopped on the biggest stage. Teams stacked with talent who never delivered when it mattered. So the real question isn't, is this team good? Clearly, yes. The real question is whether they can handle the weight of 28 years of expectation landing on them all at once. There's one more piece of this puzzle that ties it all together, and it's the man on the touchline. Solbakken isn't just Norway's head coach, he was a player on Norway's last great World Cup run, the 1998 tournament, the one where they actually made it out of the group stage and reached the round of 16, the best result in the country's history. So think about what that means. The last man to taste real World Cup success for Norway, as a player, is the exact same man who has now spent years rebuilding this team from the ground up as a coach, and led them back to the tournament for the first time since that very same campaign. This isn't a hired gun parachuted in for one tournament. This is a guy closing a loop he's been carrying around for almost 3 decades. Norway's head coach, right now, played in the last Norway team that actually succeeded at a World Cup back in 1998. Now, 28 years later, he's the one who got them back. Same guy, same unfinished story. He didn't just qualify a football team for the World Cup, he closed a loop he's been carrying since he was a player himself. So that's the backstory. Here's where it actually stands. Norway opened this World Cup with a statement, a dominant win over Iraq, Haaland scoring early and setting the tone immediately. It was the kind of result that quiets some of the doubt and turns, can they do this, into how far can they go? But the group doesn't get easier from here. Next up is Senegal. Physical, athletic, dangerous on the counter. After that, France. Genuine 2-time world champions, stacked with talent at every position. This is not a gentle path. Group 1 might be the toughest test Norway could have drawn for a team that hasn't played a World Cup match in 28 years. Which is exactly why this story matters right now, in real time. This isn't a remember when video. Norway is in the middle of writing the actual ending. Here's the part that makes this bigger than football. If Norway goes deep in this tournament, it's not just a good run for a national team, it's an entire country's 28-year wait finally paying off. It's a coach closing the loop on his own playing career. And it's a son finishing something his father started and never got to finish. On the exact stage that defined his dad's career, and then disappeared for nearly 3 decades. If it goes wrong, if this golden generation flames out the way so many before them have, that wait doesn't just disappear quietly. Every golden generation that choked story gets brought up again. Every Norway always finds a way to fall short, headline gets dusted off. That's what's actually riding on these next few matches. Not just 3 points, 28 years of context. So, Senegal next, then France. The story's not finished. And honestly, neither is this channel's coverage of it. If you want the breakdown of how Norway actually matches up tactically against Senegal, that's coming next. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more football stories, rankings, World Cup history, and the greatest moments the beautiful game has ever produced. Until next time, keep the football passion alive, and I'll see you in the next video.